So I love that you said trauma is a big word, because I pulled up the definition of trauma, because I think that, people hear trauma and they're like, you don't have trauma. Well, the definition, like actual definition of trauma, is a distressing or disturbing experience. It does not need to be
Mm,
that you saw someone get shot, or that you saw someone get run over by a car, or that you got raped. Like, yes, that
right.
all is trauma, absolutely. But it is coming on different levels. Trauma is simply a word describing something that changed you. So, an emotional response that you had to a terrible event, period. And we make it something that it's not. So when people say I've had trauma, yes, I'm sure you've had trauma. I feel like everyone has had a level of trauma happen with their life. We just sometimes don't have the tools to deal with it. Not all of us come from a family that taught us coping skills or taught us how to heal from trauma. It was just brushed under a rug, or this big pink elephant, or wrong to talk about. So I really love that you acknowledge that, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't have trauma. Well, I'm sure you did, but you were just taught to laugh it off.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's right. It doesn't have to be big because, and that's why we shouldn't ever judge ourselves or anyone else when they're
Hmm.
talking about that, because we're all different. We all have a different nervous system. And, for me, I think, Courtney, I think this is only just being understood now in
Yes.
psychotherapeutic circles, the impact, what PTSD actually is, post-traumatic stress, and how complex, PTSD and trauma response can happen simply from emotional abuse, from
Mhm.
sustained emotional abuse, from growing up with someone that mocked you all the time, or was, it's only really now that it's very, very current that people are understanding the impact and legacy of that. And we don't, we don't know. We're all different. We all have like more, you know, different points in our life when we're more resilient or more sensitive, and how one child or one adult responds to an event could be completely different to someone else. And I don't know if you've heard of the phrase orchid and dandelion children. I'll have to look up the psychologist that came up with this term, but I thought that was another way of thinking about it. It's like some kids are bouncy balls and others are sponges. We all
Mhm.
take in different things from our environments, and some of us are born really super sensitive. And in addition to that, if we grew up in a vaguely abusive or neglectful environment, we might carry it in a very different way to someone else. And something I've noticed with my clients as well is it's the meaning that we make about events, right? Rather, not just the event themselves, but the meaning that we internalize. So something that came up for me recently with some of my clients, I always pay attention when there's like a spate of all of my clients telling me the same kind of thing. It's that big synchronicity. And there was a point where I did a range of healings, and I do it's a kind of combo of advanced hypnotherapy, inner child work. It's very deep work, and NLP, and all of them, interestingly, had the same kind of scenario come up, which was when their parents gave birth to their younger sibling. And some of them came from difficult childhoods where it was quite abusive. And so then the other sibling being born was very traumatic for them. And then some of them came from happy homes. But then the impact and the meaning that they made was all the same across the board. And it was suddenly that my feelings don't matter and I'm not important, because suddenly all of the attention of the parents was on this new baby, which makes sense. And as an adult, you would be able to kind of coach yourself through that and go, well, they're busy. But as a 5-year-old, you don't have those skills. So the meaning that you make about it is, oh, I guess I'm not important. And then, of course, if you've internalized
Mm.
that in your subconscious, then when it comes to sharing your gifts and shining your light, you're going to hold yourself back. There's going to be this self-sabotage because there's a part of you that doesn't believe you're worthy of doing that, or that what you have to say is important.